So that Sage 930A that I mentioned in a previous video had stopped working again. It was my fault. I had pulled the CPU because I wanted to dump all the ROMs because I was curious what was in there. And when I was doing that, I stuck ROM number 1 in backwards, like a genius. I don't know why I did that. I know why I did. Inattentiveness. So luckily, because I had pulled the ROMs to dump them, I had a backup of that ROM. And so I dug out another 27256. These are 27C256s. I just have a 27256. I don't think there's any difference. Yeah, it works fine. So that's a new ROM 1. So that fixed, it wasn't working, it was dead. That fixed the CPU, but it hasn't fixed this system. So I can take that CPU card, put it in that guy, which is one of my other units. Works fine. Front panel lights up. Freaks out because all the cards are laying in a pile on the floor, but it will actually work with none of the cards installed, except for the CPU and the front panel. So let me show you what happened here. So this is looking down at the microscope. This is what happens to the bonding wires when you connect an IC backwards. They turn into a fuse. So I've broken out the fancy toys. The oscilloscope is very much underqualified for solving this problem. And so I'm finally becoming acquainted with my HP 1670D Deep Memory Logic Analyzer. So right now I have it stuck on the read, which is that red thingy. That's the Z80 CPU, should make that clear. So I'm monitoring the read signal and one of the address lines. Just picked one at random because I want to see if the CPU is actually living, and it does appear to be doing something somewhat intelligent. So I'll run this. This is dormant for a while, but obviously the address space is being addressed non-linearly. If I was seeing whereas a 50% duty cycle square wave, then I'd know the CPU was just ramping the program counter up to 65535 and then dropping back down to 0. But it's not. It's actually being smart. I think I mentioned if I put this in the other one, it works. So the CPU works. It's with that other front panel, or with the front panel, it doesn't work. Anyway, I was trying to get tooled up here. So I've got the logic analyzer running. I love the look of this. That looks a lot like Geneva, the Apple font. The A's are a bit weird, but a lot of the letters are very Geneva-like, and that's just probably a matter of limited space. This is a Motorola 68020 CPU in it. I think it's a SCSI hard drive, which I should image, because who knows how long it'll last. It sounds like a Quantum from the sound it made. It's not blanking, which is nice. Anyway, I'll be back. Alright, important data point. This is the front panel from that unit, which has got a slightly knackered card edge connector. Where is it? Right there. But it doesn't affect the functionality. This unit has obviously been dropped on its head a couple times. But anyway, with this front panel installed in this Sage, no worky. So that's a very encouraging sign. That means it's not the front panel, it's not the CPU, it's the back plane? What's wrong with the back plane? Alright, so here's the unit 2, we'll call it, with the CPU from unit 1 and the front panel from unit 2, which we just tested unit 1 and it doesn't work. Let's see if I wrecked it. Looks happy to me. Prom 1 passed. Of course, ESF output error. Doesn't like not having those Anyway, the point is, it works, the CPU can talk to it, all good. Alright, another test. This is the front panel from 1 with the CPU from 1 in chassis for 2. So encouraging. I like that it tests Prom 1. That's the one I destroyed. Which the code for testing it is in Prom 1. I guess it's checking for bit errors, not complete failures. Alright, well... Okay, that's good. I should mention, my first troubleshooting step was to check the power supply, and all the outputs are good. This is the power supply. Well, so is that one. I recapped both of these supplies. This is the one I screwed up the switching transistor on and had to replace. So far, all the repairs I've done on this have been self-inflicted, which has been a great learning experience. So what's wrong with this backplane? That connector goes nowhere. Let's record this so I remember what goes where. Could that be it? I doubt it. That other unit doesn't have whatever option this is, so it doesn't have that big capacitor. Is it missing a voltage rail? I checked, I've got... So you can see down here what it should have. +5 on 2 separate connectors. -48, -15, and +15. So let's double check those. So I undid all these screws, pulled this backplane out. There's no blown traces or anything weird. There's no active components on it. But as I was standing there scratching my head, I realized my problem. So I'll finish screwing this together and I will show you. Here we are in the power supply. Look at those beautiful capacitors. Oh, isn't it nice? Do you see my problem? I see my problem. That connector right there. I forgot to plug it back in after checking all the power supply voltages. Alright, moment of truth. Ah, look at that. Back in business. Interesting. So I had all my voltages. The only one I didn't have was the 48 volt output. Or the 52. What is it? 48. I wonder if they're using the 48 volt. I bet they are. To drive the VFD. But it still doesn't explain why it wouldn't even boot up. Anyway, that little 3-pin connector controls the 48 volt output. It's just got an opto-isolator and a transistor. Maybe it's because there wasn't a okay signal coming back from somewhere. I don't know. Well, time to figure all these wires, go and put the thing back together again. And that is the DC interface board and whatever int1 means. They're both in. They have a lot of fiddly little jumpers that go over top of each other, and they're kind of annoying. Let's see if it works. Let's do a last. Crap. Cover fell off of that thing. Well, you know what I'm gonna do? It was in rough shape anyway. Come on. That's just the back shell off of one of these guys. Really fine without it. Okay, let's turn this thing on. All right, let's do the test. Go. Here's unit 2 back together. The other thing I did while I had number 2 apart was try to straighten out these handles. They're still a bit crooked, but they're firmly attached now. And I'm actually impressed. Those are the screws holding those handles on. And the handles didn't bend, the screws did. One of the screws snapped off, so I had to get the screw extractor going. Anyway, we're fixed. Good as newish. Well, I was hoping to have some fun with this guy, but I didn't need to in the end, because we got everything working without it. It wasn't a logic problem. I thought that there was some decoder logic or driver logic on that display board that wasn't working, that somehow had been back-fed voltage that it didn't expect because of the poorly inserted, I don't know, I was grasping at straws. But, yeah. How do I get to configuration? Select. System. I can connect the printer. It supports X Windows. This has a NIC, the 10 base T NIC, but the MAC address was stored in battery backed SRAM, and it's one of those little modules like this. Where is it? One of those guys, but not that guy, because that would be convenient. Right there. One of these little Dallas Semi all-in-one dealies that has a battery tucked inside there, epoxied. This one's, how old is this? Where's the date code on that? 0806? Yeah. So that's already 2008, 12 years old. RAM, I get it. Ha, it's funny, Dallas. Anyway, it has one of those in there, and the battery dies. So what you gotta do is chisel the thing open, find the connections for the battery, disconnect them, glue a battery on top and reconnect it, because there is no pin compatible replacement. What's external I/O here? What? No. Anyway, because of that, the NIC doesn't work. The Ethernet board is out of commission until I pull this thing apart and find that thing. Oh, I see. That's the option I'm in. Okay, so I got external I/O, LAN, RS-232, HPIB. 136 channels. That's pretty cool. I think I paid $100 for this, which is kind of a normal price for that, but for the amount of functionality you get. Real-time clock, update function, luminosity. What else we got? Select. Hard disk. Came with files. Who knows what's on here? Cisco WLAN card. Interesting. I've never actually looked at this. This system came with a breakout board for like a PCMCIA. I think it is. No, where it is. The card to intercept all the signal lines of a PCMCIA card, so that you can snoop what the OS is doing. So someone is up to something. Can I load this? Select. Invalid file type for this operation. Oh, changed her. Operation. Load. Select. Load. Oh, we're already there. Let's go to test. Load test system. Loading test. Sorry about the glare. Board verification. There's one more. I thought there was an interface. PLD, oscillator, alignment. What's that up there? NLEPV. Oh. Oh, yeah, that's the other one. What? No. Anyway. What I bought this for is, you'll notice back there are 4 classic Macs. There's 2 SEs and 2 SE30s, and the SE30s did what SE30s do, which was have their capacitors leak all over the place, and a battery in one of them exploded and ate up traces. And I managed to fix most of the damage, but it still is having goofy problems. So I don't want to throw it out. I want to make it work. So I bought the logic analyzer. I've narrowed the problem down to, I think, somewhere in the VRAM. The VRAM, there's a couple PALs that control the VRAM. It's interesting the way it's written because it's strobed access, but it's dual port memory, sort of. It's dual port, but one port's parallel and one port is a serial shift register output. It's built for VRAM. So that's what that's for. So that'll be a video one day. I need to get some more stuff together. Just remembered I made an offer on something on eBay ages ago, and the guy declined, and I need to make another offer. Part of this project. Okay, bye. I found it. This is what I was thinking of. Bloop, 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 bloop. Bloop, 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 bloop. Bloop, bloop, bloop. What? Is there... No, there's no clicky. Why doesn't it show my finger going in? Do I have a floppy? Still nothing.